Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 140 of the Self-Publishing Roundtable. I am your host, Wade Finnegan, and I am joined this evening by Erica Conroy,
Hi.
Xavier Granville,
Hello, internets.
and our very special guest tonight is Selena Kitt. Say hi, Selena. You can't see her, but say hi.
Hi.
Yeah, Selena won't have a webcam tonight for the live viewers. For things that are probably pretty obvious, because Selena is a New York Times best-selling, even award-winning erotica author and erotic romance. But she is one of the highest-selling erotic writers in the business. As Erica likes to classify her, she's a big deal. So she has spicy, scandalous stuff, lots of series. So we brought her on to talk, of course, about that side of stuff too, but we also brought her on because she knows how to sell books, and so we're going to talk a little bit about the promotion side of things and all the other extracurricular stuff she does too. She just doesn't write. She has her own kind of promotion company and things like that. So Selena, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Well, thanks for having me.
Great to pick your brain about some of these things. So for those people that don't know you, can you give us a little bit of your writing history, how you kind of got to this point?
Well, back in 2006 or 7, a friend of mine said, "Hey, I wrote this story. Will you check it out online?" And I said, "Sure." And I went to look at it, and it was on a site called Erotica. And Erotica is it's primarily erotic stories. They offer them for free on the internet. And so I went and checked out his story, and on the front page of that screen was a contest. It was back when Survivor was first started, and it was a really big deal. And they had done a kind of contest to mimic most stories in 1 year wins, basically. And so I looked at that, and I don't know what was I can't even remember what the prize was, like $1,000. It was like not a lot, but I happen to be very competitive and very compulsive, and so I entered this contest and started getting involved with Literotica. And at the end of that year, I won second place. Some guy sandbagged me at the last minute. And so I ended up with like $500 and a glut of stories, like so many stories. And that's where a lot of my original, the series that you see now that are published, like Babysitting Baumgartners, the Baumgartner series, that's where they got their start, was on Literotica. And my husband said to me, "You know, if you had a penny or a nickel for every time someone downloaded one of those, do you know how much money we'd have?" And I said, "Huh, that's a good idea." So I went to the largest, at the time, now this was before Kindle really took off. So I went to the largest publisher, essentially at the time, a distributor. It was a little outfit called Fiction Wise. But like they were the biggest ebook distributor available at the time. And so I went to them and I said, "Hey, I've got all these basically books now, if I put them all together, you know, can I publish them here?" And they said, "Oh, no, sorry, we don't publish individual authors. You have to be a publisher." And I said, "Okay, what do you consider a publisher?" And they said, "Well, you have to have at least 10 authors and 25 different works." I'm like, "I got 25 different works by myself, but I don't have the 10 authors." So I went back to Literotica, where I basically spent the past year hanging out with people and say, "Hey, you guys, you want to publish with me?" And they said, "Sure." And so that's essentially how my publishing company, Accessica, was born. We just put all our stuff on. I mean, we edited each other's stuff. We made our own covers. You know, we were indie before indie was invented. You know, and we put all of this stuff up on FictionWise, and my stuff ended up being. I actually have a screenshot of my name sandwiched between Nora Roberts and Stephen King on their bestseller list.
That's awesome.
So that's basically how the publishing journey got started.
Nice. Were you writing before that, though? I mean, was that something you were doing at
You know what? I have a bachelor's in English. I had a major in English, minor in speech, and then I went on and got my master's in psychology. And I wrote, like, when I was a kid, I wrote all the time. Like, my parents, I wrote longhand in middle school. I wrote novels longhand. And then my parents got me a typewriter. It was literally one of those old Royals, that manual. And I thought, oh, this is so exciting. I can write on a typewriter. So I wrote novels on typewriters when I was like in high school. Then when I was 16, I asked for an electric typewriter instead of a car. That's how much I wanted to write. So they got me an electric typewriter and I started writing novels on that. But once I got my bachelor's in English and then kind of started having my kids, I moved in a different direction. My kids, two of my kids were born at home. And so I got involved in home birth and became a doula and then an apprentice midwife. And so I was doing that a lot before I got into the, found Literotica and started down the writing road again.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of rediscovered it when I found Lit.
Nice. That's really cool. Erica, I'll have you go ahead and go first for the first question.
Okay. So how did you get onto Amazon then? When you were in Fiction Wise and Literotica? What, obviously Amazon popped up, but what brought Amazon to your attention?
The way that it happened, we discovered All Romance eBooks, which was also a distributor. We found out that they were actually trying to distribute from their site to Amazon. They were trying to hook up with them. It never ended up happening. But we found a way in before KDP existed, even before Kindle Direct Publishing existed. There was a way to upload your books called Mobi. You know how their file names are called Mobi? Well, Mobi was its own separate uploading interface at the time. And all you had to do was be a publisher and sign up and upload your books, which is essentially what we did. I don't know, we probably had like 20 authors at the time, maybe 50 books total. I mean, now I've got over 500 authors on my roster, but at the time it was no big deal to upload. And then we uploaded our books, and they were doing well. Like, my idea when, my husband said, we could be making money at this, my idea was just to supplement his income. He was working in community mental health. He's a psychologist. And, he tops out maybe $40,000 a year, with his degree, even though he has 2 masters. So it's just the kind of field that he's in. So I said, well, I can supplement our income by doing this. So Fiction Wise was pulling in like $2,000 every quarter or so. Myself, not everybody else. Even at the beginning, I took no money at all except my own. That was I didn't want to make money off other people. I just wanted to make money off my work. And it just seemed like a good symbiotic relationship. But I was making $2,000 a quarter on Kindle or on Fiction Wise because they pay quarterly. Then Kindle took off, and all of a sudden I was making $10,000 a month.
Wow! And what year was this?
That was between 2008 2009 in there. Because we started Accessica in 2008, and then we started uploading things like between 2008 and 2009. That's when things really took off. I mean, all of a sudden, Babysitters and Baumgartners got into the top 100. I discovered Joe Conrad's blog at that time, and he was batting around numbers at the time where, that was unheard of. And I kind of came on and said, hey, I'm making a ton of money doing this. And it was kind of the beginning of KDP and really the Kindle Gold Rush.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you obviously did very well during the Gold Rush. But what was the first hiccup after the Kindle Gold Rush? What?
Well, for me personally, it was getting 3 of my books just taken off Amazon. But it wasn't just me. They basically decided to crack down, and this is just conjecture on my part because Amazon is completely closed mouth when it comes to any policy. It's about what you'd expect. So they don't really tell you what their policy is. They wouldn't even tell me what was wrong with the books that they took off sale. I kind of had to deduce from talking to other people who had books removed, okay, these 3 books had the theme of incest. Your books did too. Okay, that makes sense. They're taking incest books down. They basically took down anything that had to do with incest, bestiality, or rape, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that happening.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I remember that happening.
Yeah. So they were, Joe actually covered it on his blog at the time, which was kind of like the biggest indie voice out there. He covered those 3 titles being taken down. And they basically said no to incest, but it didn't take erotica authors long to figure out that, oh, well, guess what? We can write pseudo-incest, and Amazon will think that's fine. So I can't have sex with my father, but I can have sex with my stepfather. So suddenly, I mean, that was basically the daddy boom when it came to the erotica market. Everybody flooded the erotica market at that point with, what was later termed pseudo-incest.
Yeah.
So how did you bounce back from that, per se?
Well, interestingly enough, those 3 books, Barnes & Noble never went through a kind of censoring phase. They did a little bit, but they've never gone to Amazon's lengths where they cut books off entirely or ban them. So Barnes & Noble were still carrying those 3 books. Joe did that blog post, and at the time that he did it, I believe I said on that blog post, I made almost $100,000 on Barnes & Noble alone that month after Amazon banned those 3 books.
Moly, that's crazy.
So it was a horrible thing to have happened. I mean, it feels awful to have your work censored in any way, shape, or form, but I bounced back pretty well.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And it clearly proved that there's a market for it.
Yeah, totally. You just have to kind of go off Amazon sometimes to get to it.
Well, you do now.
Yeah. So do the other publishing platforms, how do they fare in terms of their erotica policies? Are they any better?
Well, they've changed over the years. Like back in the beginning, it was the Wild West. We could incest, bestiality. I mean, there were guerrilla books out there. That was before the whole dinosaur porn trend. But there was real, and I understand why Amazon did what it did, because there was incest stuff out there that was not between consenting adults. They were writing stuff that was for underage, and I mean, there are lines that even I draw. With my publishing company, we don't carry underage stuff. We will carry incest, but it's fantasies between consenting adults. So I understand why Amazon did what they did, but over the years, they've really gotten more and more and more strict. They've really pushed erotica into a tiny, tiny little area. They've made the visibility very, very difficult. And the other distributors have kind of followed suit. The one time where it was another distributor that kind of took the lead was back in 2013 during what I termed the pornocalypse, because in 2013 there was a little magazine, internet magazine called The Kernel, and they like to publish clickbait titles of things. So they published this clickbait title about Amazon is publishing daddy rape porn. Well, you can figure out how well that went over with Amazon, and then all of the other distributors had to look at their their catalogs, and it wasn't just Amazon. People were coming on and saying, well, hey, this is on Barnes & Noble, and this is on Kobo, and this is everywhere. And so the biggest bookseller in the UK, I can't remember the name of it now.
W.H. Smith?
Yeah, that's it. They decided, because all of their ebooks came from Kobo's feed, essentially, they cut not just the erotica titles out, they cut them off entirely. Everyone's self-published books, or anybody who went through Kobo to that bookseller, was cut off. And you can imagine the uproar in the indie community. Everybody went crazy. And all of a sudden, everybody was, oh my God, our books can't be on Kobo anymore. Well, then Kobo decided, okay, we obviously have to make a policy about this, and they started just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Everything that had any sex in it was cut off. But it was because of what happened there that Amazon, we had a huge glut of, I was on several different erotica forums where people's books, their entire catalogs were being decimated. They were being either banned entirely, taken off sale, or they were being put in the adult dungeon, which is essentially effectively like saying, it's like putting the books at the, at the top of the magazine rack, or at the videos in the little cubicle at the back of the video store. Nobody can see them because Amazon, for some weird reason, seems to refuse to want to put some sort of adult filter toggle on their system where people can say, hey, I want to opt into this stuff, or hey, I got kids, I want to opt out of this stuff. It would be so simple. But no, they decide to do this arbitrary, we're not going to tell you what's wrong with your books, but we're going to take them off sale now. And we're not going to tell you what you need to fix to get them back on our site either. So that was a huge, huge deal for a lot of erotica writers at that point. I had titles that were, and I'm dealing at that point not with just my titles, but like, at the time, probably 300 authors and 1,000 titles.
Wow.
And I've got to go through and deal with Amazon and say, hey, which ones can we have on sale? What do we have to change here? What do we have to change there? And we've got to talk in this 1984 doublespeak about, what is or isn't okay. So at that point, a lot of the other distributors, Barnes & Noble is the only one that hasn't done it. And I give them, hats off to them for not censoring. They've said to me from the very beginning, I've had conversations several times with executives at Barnes & Noble, and they've said from the beginning, we are not here to censor books. That is not what we do. So they've stayed true to that to this day. You'll find tons of stuff on Barnes & Noble in the erotica section that Amazon won't touch. But the thing about that is that Barnes & Noble, too, there's no way they don't have a way to separate that out either. So, as an erotic writer, I don't want my work in the hands of kids. Nobody wants that. Even the people who write it don't want that. I wish that we lived in a culture where these people, these corporations could just say, hey, there are adults that want to read about sex. Those things are going to be over here where the kids can't get them. How easy would that be?
Yeah, you'd think it would be something that Amazon would look into, considering it's something like even Smashwords offers that adult filter.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Amazon really needs to step up on that one. I think that would probably change quite a bit for a lot of authors if there could be an adult switch, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Well, what if they're expecting the little kid to have taken mommy's credit card and then just be going on a shopping spree on Amazon? It's cool as long as they use our affiliate link.
Right.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your publishing company itself. So what do you offer your clients? I guess
We're basically a co-op.
Okay.
Exessica it started as a co-op. I run it as a co-op. We used to do more of a split where, like at the beginning we were sharing editing, we were making each other's covers. I still wince when I look back and see that I made covers and thought I could actually do it. But don't let cover artists make covers, okay? But I don't do covers anymore, thank God. But we basically now we offer they come to us with the manuscript. They basically audition for us. Their first submission is an audition. If I read it, I like it. It's clean. We've got clean copy. The person seems tech savvy enough, because that's important when it comes to being able to handle our Google documents and signing up for things and putting your name in slots and not erasing other people's stuff. So they're basically auditioning for the co-op, and if I accept them into the co-op, then they give us the edited manuscript and a cover. I don't care where the cover came from, and they can do it themselves if they're good at it, or we get rights of refusal there, because I ran into issues where authors wanted to publish covers that were really awful. But so we do on occasion have to guide them in a different direction. But they give us the cover, they give us the edited manuscript, we format, we upload, we handle all the accounting. So, and we pay out quarterly, because back before Amazon existed, everybody paid quarterly. Fiction-wise, all romance ebooks, Bookstrand, everybody paid quarterly. So, and we still do it that way because we're a co-op. I only take 10%. At the beginning, I took 0. I didn't want to make money off of everybody else's books. I wanted to make money off my books. But it started becoming a business expense. We had a website to run. I had accountants to pay. The more authors we got, the more I had to pay the accountant. So basically now I take 10%, which is basically, it covers our business expenses, and we run as a co-op. And that's how I run the business. I don't want to be a small publisher. There are small publishers closing left and right now, because that business model can't survive in this environment. But a co-op can, because I'm making money off my work, and I'm paying it forward by helping other authors, and we're helping each other all the time. Every time I advertise a book and send somebody to Exessica, they basically get to look at everybody else's books, and maybe they might buy one. So it really helps in terms of marketing, to have a big group of authors where we can organize things and get together and do marketing things. But they're keeping 90% of their profits. They're not giving. Some of these small publishers take 60-70% of their profits. And like, if you're talking about Amazon, where you're making the most money, you're talking about taking 60 to 70% of 70%. So it really cuts into how much money they get to take home. And my goal is that everybody makes as much money as they possibly can.
I like that goal.
Me too.
Are erotica sales staying consistent?
No, unfortunately. The way that things have kind of gone downhill, 2013 was like a nuclear bomb went off when they, we hadn't seen that kind of slash and burn tactics since the ban in 2010, when Amazon first did it. Then in 2013 they really cracked down, and from then it's kind of been this slow death until Kindle Unlimited 1.0 came out.
Yeah.
Because erotica authors, a lot of authors felt that it was unfair that erotica authors who've always written short. I mean, I could write a 5,000 word short story, sell it for $2.99, make $2 on it, and I could sell 100 of those a month, and that was a pretty good chunk of change, especially if I've got a bunch of them, right? But when Kindle Unlimited came out, everybody was like, oh, well, erotic writers are getting $1 whatever it was that month for their 5,000 word story, and I'm getting $1 whatever for my 100,000 word fantasy novel. How fair is that, right? So erotica writers at that point, we had a huge boom at that point, because erotica writers, and not just erotica writers but romance writers too, figured out, oh, I can write serials. I can write 10,000 words, and I can do it every week, and I can release one, and I can get $1.34, which is what it ended up as, I think, the very last one, a borrow, and as long as they read to 10%. And so all of a sudden, I mean, we were flooded with erotica. I can't even tell you how much stuff got published. And I think Amazon kind of got wind of, hey, authors who are writing long are not happy with this. So then then Kindle Unlimited 2.0 came out, and now we're paid by the page read. So now our shorts that were worth, I mean, we used to get $2 for them, and we bitched and moaned that we were getting $1 whatever for them, but everybody was all in because Amazon was where the money was. So we were all writing, and we were all publishing, and we were making the money, and it was all good. And then all of a sudden, that same thing that was getting $1 whatever now is worth 25 cents if they read the whole thing.
Oh.
Right. So that's why you now see the giant bundles of things. Everybody took their short stories, and, literally some people came out with all 100 of my stories in this one volume for 99 cents. But the goal was to get them not just to buy it, but to borrow it and read the whole damn thing. So the more books you have in one bundle, the more money you have a chance to make. So that's basically where erotica is at this point in, Kindle Unlimited 2.0. Who knows where we're going to go in 3.0, and I know it's coming.
Yeah. I'm a little afraid of it, but hopeful. Obviously, if you can't bundle, I believe a lot more people are either writing longer or making the jump to romance.
That's basically what's happened with a lot of erotica authors. They are either, sadly and unfortunately, going back to getting day jobs, or they're putting on their romance hats and putting, cute couples on the front, or a guy with a lot of tattoos, and writing as dirty as they want on the inside, as long as they have, a couple that ends up together at the end with a happily ever after.
I can't complain about that. They're good reads too, some of them. So.
No, I mean, there are some amazingly good writers that started in erotica that have moved to other genres that are killing it.
Well, I think I guess it comes all down to the work ethic that would have been built up when they were erotica authors, because for a while there it was about getting out lots and lots and lots of content. So I know when I first started that people were like basically writing one short a day and publishing it the next day, that kind of thing, just to build up their catalogs. So that kind of work ethic, taking it into another genre, you're publishing almost as fast in, say, science fiction to build your catalog.
Yep, absolutely. And, with that kind of work ethic, there are tons of writers out there in the world that think that writing a couple thousand words a week is tough. Yeah, exactly. And, you look at indies, I mean, we're on a treadmill that, it just keeps getting faster. So everybody keeps figuring out new ways to write faster. We've all got Dragon on our computers, and we're all trying dictation, and we're all trying to, figure out how to type faster, how to get somebody else to type faster for us, because the stories are all in our heads. It's just a matter of getting them from our heads onto the screen and getting them published so that, we can get paid.
Hmm.
I guess speaking of work ethic, what is your release schedule looking like nowadays, and how has that changed over the years? Like Eric was saying, like, have you kind of had moments of having to put out a lot of stuff, or are you steadily always just putting out a lot of stuff?
You know, I've never been one of the high content authors. I mean, I know I have a lot of stuff out there, but you have to remember I've been doing this since
Yeah,
2008.
exactly. Yeah.
You know, I'm not one of those authors that, you know, put out 100 releases a year. Last year was my highest output year ever. I wrote 1,000,000 words.
Nice.
And that was a ton of words. I mean, I was tired. That was it. Probably the more words that I wrote the entire time that I was doing Survivor, even, you know, on Literotica. I slowed way down this year, but we're also focusing. My goal at this point is to pull back some of my resources from Amazon to stop being so reliant on someone else and their distribution. Everybody knows that you can make the most money on Amazon. That's where everybody flocks to make their money. But I would like to have a steady backup income that does not involve a corporation like Amazon. I will still utilize them. But, you know, this year has been about, I started my own bookstore. I started 2 promotion companies. I took over the Erotic Readers and Writers Association. So all of these things can kind of make a base that doesn't rely on Amazon and that keeps me from having to be on that damn treadmill every day running as fast as I can to try to keep up with everybody else. And so my release schedule this year is actually a lot more sparse than it has been in the past. And, you know, I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm tired of chasing trends. I'm tired of chasing, you know, writing to trope, writing to market. You know, I'm kind of at the point where, you know what, I'm just going to write what I want to write at this point. If people read it, they'll read it. If they don't, they don't. That's kind of the place I've gotten to because I've been doing this that long. And after you've been doing it such a long time, I'm not that hungry writer that comes in and is just doing this for the first time and, you know, thinks that, you know, everything is Amazon's so awesome and this is a gold mine. I've been through so much with Amazon and so much persecution, censorship. You know, it's like every time you get ahead, you get knocked back down again. And that's what it's like being an erotica author. Every time you start, you know, seeing the light, oh wait, it's another train. You know, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
So,
do you ever think during those times, oh, this is it, no, I'm throwing in the towel
oh my
now?
gosh, so many times. So many times.
And what makes you keep going, though?
My husband quit his damn job.
That would
I'm
do it.
the only one doing this, man. I'm the only one doing this. So, you know, I basically have to keep doing what I'm doing. And if I don't develop something like, you know, my own bookstore or way to not rely on Amazon, I'm going to be forced with everybody else to be on the damn treadmill. And I don't want to do that anymore. So that's my goal at this point. Kind of this year is focused on moving more away from being reliant on all that other stuff to bring in the money.
So how is that new bookstore that you've mentioned going?
I don't recommend starting your own bookstore now that I've said that. You know, I have been working on this freaking bookstore for like 2 or 3 years. The first rendition of it, I paid an author friend's husband to do it. She's like, oh, he's really good. You know, he was really cheap considering it was like $5,000 to get the store up and running. 9 months later, I had no store. They had all my money, and they wouldn't even call me back. So,
Oh, good.
yeah, that was great. So that
worked out fantastic.
didn't it? So I contracted with somebody else. I decided, all right, I'm not going to give up. My goal at the beginning for starting the store wasn't what my goal is now. My goal at the beginning for starting the store was just to give erotica authors a place they could go to actually publish something that, you know, had a naked woman on the cover, or, you know, even if you only saw a side boob, you know, Amazon won't even publish that. So my goal was just to give erotica writers a safe place to publish their work, and where readers could come and not have to worry about, you know, trying to find something, where it would be easy to find their exact fetish or niche or whatever they wanted to read. That was my goal. So now we have the store, $16,000 later, on top of the $5,000 I'm out, and it runs okay. It does most of what I ask them to, but it's not perfect. We're still working on getting it to run faster. I keep going back and forth between the host and the developer. And it's been 2 years since I contracted it, and they're still working out bugs, you know. So I'm torn between putting a ginormous more amount of money into the project. But the good news is, since Amazon has kind of closed the doors to erotica, and erotica authors have kind of lost their audience on Amazon, more and more publishers and self-published authors are coming to us and publishing with us, which is awesome. So I think if we can work out the bugs, knock on wood, it'll do really well down the line. And you know, I'm working constantly behind the scenes to try to fix all the little things that, you know, should work, that, you know, keep breaking, or you know, and part of it too is it's slowed down a lot because we've got so much traffic, which is a good thing. You know, we've got tons of readers coming in and tons of publishers coming in, and so now we're working on getting it to go faster, so that, you know, when the readers and the publishers come in, that readers can find their books and buy them and not have to, you know, load the site 400 times before they can find the book. So that's kind of where we are. I mean, you know, I'm being honest about it. It has been a pain in my butt, but I love it. You know, I love the idea of it. I love that, you know, it's there and that I'm doing it, and that people have, you know, especially erotica authors, have a place where they can publish their stuff and they don't have to worry about censoring themselves. I mean, we do have, granted, we do have some guidelines. Like, I still will not publish anything underage, but, you know, for the most part, I think, you know, you can pretty much find anything that you wanted to find on Erotica that any erotica reader could possibly think of wanting to read.
Impressive.
Yeah, that's very cool. Have you thought about? Oh, go ahead, Xavier.
I was just gonna say, are you like looking for investors or anything like that? It sounds like it could, if you had like you said, the capital for it, like it could very well be a nice little enterprise. Like, are you looking for people to invest into it?
If there's an angel investor out there who wants to invest, please email me. I would be happy to talk to them.
Selena, we've just had a live comment from someone watching in the audience. They said to ask your host if they can put a caching program in front of your web server, because it will increase your speed 100 times, if not more.
That is actually what they just did.
Yeah?
Yep, they just did it. In fact, we were having big problems with the site last week, and I went round and round with the developer, and they finally put a caching program in. So as of today, actually, yesterday, I think he emailed me and said, you know, I've got it up on the site, see if it's running faster. Knock on wood, I'm like holding my breath, and I'm afraid, but I'm afraid to say it, but it's running faster, yay!
Very cool. I love that advice, right? Live on the air too. That's really cool. Have you thought about, Selena, writing any other genres yourself? Moving into something more traditional?
Actually, I've wanted to do it for years, but Selena's been the bread and butter, and it's kind of hard to, you know, walk away from, you know, that pen name. But my first love has always been horror. I mean, most of the stuff that I wrote when I was a kid was horror. My favorite author is Stephen King, now Joe Hill. So, my first, you know, my first inkling toward, I wanted to grow up to be Stephen King, essentially. So, sometime down the line when I've got time, knock on wood, and I can clone myself 4 more times, I will become a horror writer.
Nice. Sounds like a lot of wood to be knocking.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Once the cloning came involved in the plan, I was like, oh, you lost me there.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with having this many fingers in this many pots.
Well, I guess but you do have a passion for both. It's not like even though you have your specified genres of reading, you don't find writing erotica arduous, right?
No, I never have. But I really kind of fell into it. I mean, I was never an erotica reader, and I still am not an erotica reader. I write it, but I don't read it. The stuff that I read is horror. But, I kind of fell into the genre, and it was lucrative, and it was fun, and I like telling the stories. I like, making fans happy, and that was all good stuff. But, at some point it becomes a job. At some point it becomes, why am I doing this? Why am I still doing this? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing something else? And it becomes, like I said, my husband quit his job. I'm the only person making the money, so I kind of have to transition in a way that, keeps Selena alive and keeps enough money coming in that I can transition to, moving into other genres if I want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely get that. Wade, did you have a question? Sound like I cut you off at one point.
Oh, I just to talk a little more about the promotion side of things. Do you promote erotica? Do you use the similar types of things that traditional authors do, or what do you find is the best way to get the word out?
It's really tough. If you've ever looked at, like the list of things that traditional promotion sites will take, most of them don't have a section for erotica. They have a section for erotic romance, and that's only some of them. Some of them don't want anything that's, that involves any sex whatsoever.
Oh, Lord forbid.
Right, exactly. we can have psychopaths and people killing each other and all of that. We'll promote that from here till tomorrow, but no sex. So
yeah, Special Victims Unit does not exist.
Right?
They don't have an entire show built around rape, guys. It's cool. It's cool.
Right? But most of the places don't. I mean, they just don't promote erotica. The places that do, it's kind of a really small following. So I kind of just made my own promotion company that, promotes erotica. And, I already had the authors who had the books that wanted to be promoted, and I had tons of fans that liked my stuff and other people's stuff because I can't write fast enough to make them all happy. So, it just seemed to be a good marriage. And so I started Excite Spice, which we've got 2 divisions. We've got Excite Steam, which is romance, and then we've got Excite Spice, which is erotica. And so we can promote the down and dirty stuff on Excite Spice. I keep it really cheap. It's only $5 to promote your book. We've got over 10,000 subscribers at this point, and people see really good results from. I've got nothing but positive feedback from people who say, we've got so many sales, or so we gave away so many books, freebies. Boy, they love freebies. But we've done really well, and the way that we keep the cost down is that we're doing bundles, and this works 2 ways. I basically ask authors to donate a story or book, to a bundle, to an Excite Spice bundle. We kind of do them in themes, menage, or, you know, billionaires, or whatever we're doing. And I ask them to donate a book, and then I give them basically $50 in Excite Spice coupons in exchange for them donating the book. And then we put up the bundles, and we kind of funnel, we put them up on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited, because that's where all the people are now. And we kind of funnel the readers into our system. We kind of tell them, hey, look, if you join Excite Spice's list, you get 5 free reads, and we can tell you about all these awesome books that, you know, you can get for free and or 99 cents. So it works really well. And it's kind of like the co-op idea, you know, taken to a promo level, essentially, you know, where we're kind of working in this symbiotic relationship. I'm running this promo thing that works well for me and works well for all the other authors, and we're kind of all working together to make it something that it's not going to ever be as big as like BookBub, but where else are you going to find anywhere that can just promote erotica titles? It seemed like it worked really well for, you know, kind of the system I had going, basically.
It's interesting that you say that there wasn't anywhere for you to advertise, so you made somewhere to advertise yourself. It's just like what you did with your publishing company. You needed, you know, a place to publish, and the same with the bookstores. So I'm sensing a theme here. Is there anything else, do you think, that you'll probably pick up along the way that you can't get elsewhere?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think I've kind of run the gamut, at least as far as this genre goes. But, you know, who knows what I'll do down the line.
Yeah, with 250 titles, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. We have another question from the audience. They're asking, what advice would you give to your younger self if you're just starting out? Would you go back in time and...
Oh, what would I go back in time and tell myself? I would probably tell myself to... I probably would have told myself to tone it down from the beginning, so that, you know, the stuff wouldn't have been banned to begin with. But, you know, if I'd done that, I wouldn't be where I am. So it's hard to say. But, you know, I've had to deal with so much hassle from Amazon over the years that it's been such a headache that I probably would have told my younger self, hey, you might want to chill out on the incest themes. But really, it wasn't my fault. It really wasn't my fault. Literotica's #1 category is incest. I really didn't even want to write it, to tell you the truth, but I had to. I was in this contest. It was Survivor, so, and I had fun doing it, but, you know, I probably never would have even touched that theme if it hadn't been for Literotica and the way it went down. So it's not my fault. It's the reader's fault.
Them darn readers.
Right?
Well, I think that's like the most hardcore example of literally writing to the audience or writing to market. You know, like
Pretty much.
if it's not worth someone reading, or if they're not enjoying it,
so to speak.
yeah, then it's not worth writing in the first place.
And there still are a ton of readers that absolutely love that particular fetish. There are a ton. I know people think it's, you know, they kind of look down on it or they make fun of it, but the numbers do not lie. It's like people that, you know, everybody put down 50 Shades. The numbers do not lie. People want this stuff.
Well, and like you mentioned the dinosaur erotica phase, when that came up, that was real, folks. Like that.
They were real dinosaurs.
Yeah, you know, but, you know, like just the amount of authors that came out of the woodwork during that one like couple months of dinosaur porn, like it was insanity.
Yep. And, you know, it's like I think part of it with erotica, it's like with any it's like with porn, people start getting desensitized to certain things, and so they want something new. And that was something new and different and unusual. We had a very brief. It was even briefer than dinosaurs. We had a very brief time of sleep sex, where people would, it was a whole thing, and it was really popular for a really short amount of time because Amazon kind of caught on and said, oh no, this is kind of like rape, we're not okay with this. Kind of. Well, you have to remember, this is fantasy. This is fiction. No one is being hurt by any of this, right? I mean, there are no dinosaurs that are being harmed in the making of our fiction, right?
I don't think it's the dinosaurs that get harmed in those books.
Right? But there was a huge market for it, and there was a huge market for Bigfoot stuff and for tentacle stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a ton of fetish stuff out there. It's no different than actual porn. I mean, there's plenty of themes out there for people to watch. So erotica is no different.
And what's great about when writing erotica is that unlike the video of porn, you have a much higher budget at your hand.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
You're not going to be seeing dinosaur erotica being hitting the actual porn studios anytime soon. That's going to be involving CGI or some friggin' Jim Henson puppets, and I do not want to see the result of either of those.
You have seen Peter Jackson's Meet the Feebles, right?
Oh yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, someone brought that up the other day, and I need to rewatch it again. That's the third time. It must be kismet.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of movies, didn't one of your stories get made into movies?
Yes, that is probably the most exciting thing that's happened in my entire career as a writer. Babysitting the Baumgartners has been made into an adult film.
Sweet.
And I was approached, I don't know, two or 3 years ago by someone who wanted to make it into a film. But it wasn't someone I really trusted. I didn't know them. They it was kind of a cold call. They just kind of said, hey, I really like your book. I want to make it into a movie. I was like, no. But the way this happened, Kay Brandt is a porn director, and she kind of got out of the business and started writing erotica and making books out of her screenplays that she had, made movies of. And then she... Are you guys still there?
Oh,
yep.
Okay. Sorry, no, it was just my screen went black for a minute.
Okay.
She kind of started writing these, and she happened to submit. She decided Excessica was the way she wanted to go, and she submitted one of her books to me. And I read it. I accepted her into the co-op, and we kind of started talking because of that. And she made a film of one of her books that she had just written. It hadn't actually been released yet. She kind of released them at the same time. A book called Safe Landings, and then she did a movie of it. And she partnered up with Adam and Eve to do that movie. And Adam and Eve has a ginormous budget when it comes to, I mean, they've been around forever, right? In the adult business, essentially. And she came to me after she did that movie, and she said, you know what, I want to make Under Mr. Nolan's Bed into a movie. I said, are you sure about that? Do you know what it's about? She said, yes. She said, I read it. I think it's amazing. I can see every single scene. She's like, I know just how I want to do it. I want to approach Adam and Eve and ask them if they would, fund this. And I said, okay, go ahead. So she went to them, and they said, incest themes? No, I don't think so. And I don't know why she thought it would fly. I mean, considering, they actually have, Adam and Eve, there are certain things they won't do, and that's one of them. But they actually have therapists on staff that watch the movies that they produce, and they actually have them change things or cut things based on the therapist's recommendation. So they've got kind of a high bar when it comes to making adult films. So she came back and she said, well, they said no. She said, but She said, what about babysitting Baumgartners? I'm like, they wouldn't do a girl, 18-year-old girl falling in love with her best friend's father. You think they're going to do a 19-year-old babysitter and this couple that's seducing her? She goes, yeah, no, they will. I'm like, all right, go ahead. So so she went to Adam and Eve, and to my surprise, she came back and said, they set it to green light, we're a go. I was shocked. I was utterly shocked. But it's been the most fun. I got to kind of put my view in on casting. We originally had Annika. We actually originally had Mia Malkova and Danny Mountain, but then there was an issue with them and they couldn't do it. So then we had Annika Albright as Mrs. Baumgartner. We had Sarah Love as Ronnie. We had AJ Applegate as Gretchen, and then we had Ryan Driller as Mr. Baumgartner, which everyone was thrilled about. And then he got sick the day of shooting. And
oh no,
they couldn't reschedule. If they rescheduled, like, so much money would have been lost, and Kay was freaking out. But Annika's real life husband, Mick Blue, is also a porn actor, and he stepped in and saved the day and decided to play Mr. B. So it worked out really, really well. I didn't go to the shoot. She did invite me, but I just couldn't get away. But she sent me tons of videos, tons of pics. They had a blast doing it. The thing about Babysitting the Baumgartners, you have to remember, I wrote it for Literotica. So I was writing a chapter a day, essentially like 2,500 words a day or every other day or so, and had sex in it because this was for Literotica, right? Mm-hmm. So there are, like, I don't know, 12 chapters of sex. This film has double the amount of sex scenes of most of the films out there. And Kay filmed every single one of them, and it's 4 hours long. I've seen the rough cut. It's awesome, but it's longer than Titanic, you guys.
Is there like a 6-hour director's cut or something?
It is so long, and there is so much sex in it. But she did an amazing job. She really did. It's not the type of typical porn you see these days. It's like it's got a story, so she's kind of bringing back story porn. I think it's going to be really awesome. They're talking about releasing the end of June at this point, so they're in editing stages now.
Well, that's cool. Anytime you get your story on a big screen or even a small screen, that would be
right.
Yeah. Erica, go ahead.
I was just going to say, have you seen like any increase of sales or interest in the series since it's been announced, or
yes, actually quite a bit. Yeah. The sales of the series have picked up, and that one is wide. So the Baumgartner series entirely is wide. It's not just at Amazon. So I've seen sales pick up, at all the different distributors, which has been nice. I mean, it hasn't gone through the roof or anything. You're talking Babysitting the Baumgartners was back in 2008. That's how old this book is. That's ancient for a book that's, an indie book, and that thing still sells like crazy. So that's kind of nice, and it's kind of, helped sales, and that, I'm not going to make $1 million off of the film itself, basically. I mean, it wasn't a giant amount of money that they gave me, I probably was the person paid the least in the entire thing. And Kay even said, she goes, normally they don't pay writers. They don't need writers, but the way that it worked out, like all of did you know, I had no idea, did you know that porn stars are paid by the sex scene? Really? I had no idea.
I think I read that somewhere one time, but yeah.
I had no idea. She said, this movie costs a lot of money because there are like 12 sex scenes in this thing. And of course, the more difficult the scene, the more money they get. Guys get paid like one rate, but girls get paid by the act. So
Mm.
anal costs more. And I had quite a bit of anal. She's like, why did you put so much in it? I'm like, my readers liked it. I'm sorry.
Wow.
If the viewers like it as well, so
Yes.
I'm
Oh.
liking all the lessons that I'm learning here.
well, don't forget you've got that dinosaur noir novel. We still haven't turned it into a porn parody yet, so
Well, you may have missed the trend there, but you know, there's still a market.
it could come
I
around
know.
again.
I was writing that book in the middle of that trend as that was happening. So anytime I told anyone I was writing a book involving dinosaurs, they're like, "Is it next? How do they fuck? How do they fuck? I want to know. I need to know." And I purposely wrote it into the book. I'm like, if there is a sex scene, but it's like the camera goes to the curtains type of a thing. Like it's a big middle finger to anyone who wanted to read anything about sex between a human and a dinosaur. I don't care.
Also,
I'm not
human
writing.
and a dinosaur do get it on.
They do, but I'm not going to tell you how or what happens or what is the anatomy involved. God, it's a sci-fi mystery.
That's very complicated.
Probably.
You can put it in the sequel. You still haven't finished that one yet, so.
I'm not putting it into the sequel.
Well, we've already talked for an hour, believe it or not. That flew by. So, was there any other questions that either of you had, or anything from the audience that we missed? Eric goes,
I
no.
think we can stop there.
Okay, yeah, that was good. That was a good ending point. Well, Selena, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it, and it was insightful. It's you know, if you don't, it's kind of like if you don't have something, build it for yourself. So yeah, I like that. So. Erica, who do we have on next week? I know you always remember this good stuff for me. We have
Chris Fox.
Chris Fox, yes, on next week, and Blab on Sunday. So guys, please check that out. And when you guys get a moment too, we'd love a little review on iTunes. We appreciate you guys' support. So
or any other podcasting listening device or app that you listen to us on. If you could leave a review there.
there too.
Yes. Stitcher, for instance.
Yes. I'm not trying to discriminate. Sorry.
If you listen, review us, okay?
Yeah.
Capiche?
I think the deadline actually. So unless you're listening live, you'll miss a deadline because the deadline for submissions for our promotion was 23rd. Yeah, is the 23rd. So this maybe you might catch it, but probably not. But anyway. Yeah, so we'll be talking more about that soon. Am I missing anything else I need to promote?
Ask Selena where we can find her.
Oh,
yes.
See, that's what I'm getting. I have you here for. Selena, where can we find you?
www.selenakit.com.
Nice. Also got links to both her promotion and the Excite Spice and Excite Stream, and yeah, so check those out as well. So, all right. Again, thank you, Selena, so much. It was great talking to you.
It was fun.
Xavier, do you have anything to say?
Au revoir, internets.